Commander Vrex 9 stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Defense Station, watching the latest batch of human recruits fumble through their weapon assignments. The sight was, well, let's just say it wasn't exactly inspiring confidence in the future of the galaxy. As, by the 7 moons of Keltara, muttered his second-in-command, Captain Zin 12, are we absolutely certain these creatures passed the intelligence tests? Vrex 9's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sure sign of his growing irritation. Below them, a human female named Lisa Park was attempting to operate a standard-issue plasma rifle. The weapon, designed by the brilliant engineers of the Altarian Empire, was supposed to be foolproof, yet somehow, this human had managed to make it spark, smoke, and emit a sound that could only be described as musical. She's making it sing, Zin 12 observed, his voice dripping with disbelief. How in the name of the cosmic void is she making a plasma rifle sing? I have no idea, Vrex 9 replied, massaging his primary temple with a tentacle. But it's been playing the same tune for the past 10 minutes. Another human, a lanky male called Jake Morrison, had discovered that the graviton grenades could be used as footballs. Yes, footballs. He was currently teaching a group of bewildered Centauri cadets how to throw them in perfect spirals, completely ignoring their actual destructive purpose. Instructor Clack 7, Vrex 9 called into his communicator. Please remind the humans that graviton grenades are not recreational equipment. The response crackled back through the device, sir. I've tried. They keep asking if we have larger ones for something they call the big game. Vrex 9 felt his secondary heart skip a beat. The humans had been part of the Galactic Alliance for exactly 3 standard cycles now, and in that time they'd managed to confuse, baffle, and occasionally horrify every military instructor in the known universe. Take Marcus Webb, for instance. The human had been given a simple molecular disruptor, a weapon so basic that even the barely sentient bloblings from Sector 12 could operate it correctly. Marcus had somehow reversed its polarity and was now using it to reorganize matter. He'd already turned his bunk into what he called a recliner, much to the horror of his roommate, a proud Dracorian warrior named Skeeth Prime. The weapon is for destroying enemy structures, Skeeth Prime was explaining for the 15th time, his scales shifting from green to red with frustration, and not for making furniture more comfortable. But check this out, Marcus grinned, adjusting the molecular disruptor's settings again. I bet I can make the food replicator produce actual pizza. Skeeth Prime's roar of anguish echoed through the entire dormitory complex. Meanwhile, in the advanced weapons section, Dr. Scylla 4 was having what could generously be called a moment. The distinguished Altarian scientist had spent 40 years perfecting the quantum phase cannon, a weapon capable of shifting enemy targets into parallel dimensions. It was, without question, the most sophisticated piece of military technology ever created. Emma Torres, a human engineer from something called Detroit, had been staring at it for exactly 12 minutes. So, Emma said, tapping her chin thoughtfully, this thing punches holes between dimensions, right? That is a crude but accurate summary. Yes, Dr. Scylla 4 replied, her voice strained with patience. And you can control which dimensions it accesses? Within certain parameters, yes. Emma's eyes lit up with an expression that Dr. Scylla 4 was beginning to recognize as deeply, deeply troubling. Could we use it for shipping? The question hung in the air like a toxic spore cloud from Denabia 6. Dr. Scylla 4's 3 brains worked in unison, trying to process what she'd just heard. Shipping? She repeated slowly. Yeah. Think about it, Emma continued, completely oblivious to the scientist's growing horror. Instead of taking months to move cargo between star systems, we could just pop it through a dimension and have it arrive instantly. We'd revolutionize galactic commerce. Dr. Scylla 4 sat down heavily, her confidence in her life's work crumbling like a poorly constructed asteroid mining station. Back in the training yard, things were getting even more interesting. A human named Tyler Brooks had been assigned to test the experimental sonic disruptor, a weapon that could level buildings with precisely tuned sound waves. The device required careful calibration, exact frequency matching, and years of training to master. Tyler had turned it into a musical instrument. "Listen to this," he called out to his fellow trainees, adjusting the frequency modulator. The sonic disruptor began producing what could only be described as the galaxy's first heavy metal ballad. Even the usually stoic crystalloid observers were tapping their mineral feet to the rhythm. "This is a disaster," muttered Instructor Voss 19, a veteran of 12 galactic wars who'd never seen anything like this. "They're not learning to use our weapons. They're making our weapons do things we never imagined," finished Commander Vrex 9, who'd arrived to personally witness the chaos. The commander watched as a human named Diana Chen, yes Chen, had somehow modified a standard energy shield generator to create what she called holographic art installations. Swirling patterns of light danced around her position, creating shapes that were simultaneously beautiful and completely tactically useless. "It's not all bad," offered Captain Zin 12, pointing to another section of the training ground. "Look at Rodriguez over there." Carlos Rodriguez had been given a plasma cannon, a straightforward weapon designed for destroying heavy armor. Instead of following the manual, he'd somehow figured out how to adjust its output and was using it for cooking. "Natty, is that actual food?" Vrex 9 asked, his olfactory sensors detecting unfamiliar but pleasant aromas. "I believe they call it barbecue," Zin 12 replied. "The tentacloid squad has been begging him to make more." Indeed, a group of the usually carnivorous tentacloids was gathered around Rodriguez, their appendages waving enthusiastically as he served up what appeared to be perfectly cooked something. "The humans are insane," declared General Thax Prime, the station's commanding officer, as he arrived for his daily inspection. The general was an imposing figure, even by Dracorian standards, with battle scars from conflicts across 17 different star systems. "They take our most sophisticated weapons and turn them into toys?" suggested Vrex 9. "Tools," corrected Captain Zin 12. "Very strange tools." As if summoned by their conversation, a commotion erupted from the heavy weapons section. A human named Kevin Park, Lisa's brother, had been experimenting with the temporal displacement cannon, and a weapon so dangerous that most species required 3 years of theoretical study before being allowed near it. Kevin had figured out how to use it to age cheese. "The quantum temporal matrix is perfectly calibrated for dairy fermentation," he was explaining to a group of horrified Alterian physicists. "See, you just need to create a localized time bubble and..." Dr. Silla 4's anguished wail could be heard 3 sectors away. The situation reached its breaking point during the weekly combat assessment. Each species was required to demonstrate their mastery of Standard Alliance weapons in a simulated battle scenario. The Dracorians performed with their usual brutal efficiency. The Alterians displayed precise, calculated strikes. The Centauri showed perfect formation discipline. Then came the humans. Captain Sarah Lynn, the human squad leader, had organized her team into what she called a flexible response unit. Instead of following standard military doctrine, they'd adapted. The simulation began. A fortified enemy position needed to be neutralized. Standard procedure called for systematic bombardment followed by coordinated assault. The humans charged in singing. Not war chants or battle hymns, mind you. They were singing something called Sweet Caroline. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. Tyler Brooks was laying down covering fire with his sonic disruptor, but instead of using it to destroy enemy fortifications, he was using the sound waves to disorient the enemy AI while simultaneously providing a baseline for the song. Diana had turned her energy shield generators into a light show that was confusing the enemy targeting systems while boosting her team's morale. Marcus was using his molecular disruptor to reshape the battlefield itself, creating cover and tactical advantages that hadn't existed moments before. And Emma, brilliant Emma, had figured out how to use the quantum phase cannon not to eliminate enemies, but to phase them slightly out of sync with reality, making them unable to fire their weapons while remaining completely unharmed. The simulation lasted exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. The humans achieved total victory with 0 casualties, enemy or otherwise. The silence in the observation deck was profound. They won, whispered Instructor Clack 7. Without killing anyone, added Dr. Scylla 4, her voice barely audible. While singing, concluded General Thax Prime. Commander Vrex 9 stared at the tactical display, trying to process what he'd just witnessed. Every military strategist in the galaxy would want to study this engagement. The humans had achieved the impossible, a perfect victory using methods that violated every known principle of warfare. Sir, Captain Zin 12 said carefully. Perhaps we've been looking at this wrong. What do you mean? Well, we've been assuming the humans don't understand our weapons. But what if they understand them better than we do? The thought was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Down in the training yard, the humans were celebrating their victory in typical human fashion, by sharing Carlos's barbecue and planning modifications to their equipment that would make it even more versatile. You know what this quantum phase cannon needs? Emma was saying to a group of increasingly nervous scientists. A reverse setting. Instead of phasing things out of our dimension, what if we could phase things in from dimensions where they're better? Dr. Scylla 4 fainted. As the day wound down, Commander Vrex 9 found himself reviewing the humans' performance records. Every evaluation was the same. They consistently failed to use weapons as intended, showed complete disregard for established protocols, and achieved results that defied all logical explanation. And yet, somehow, they were the most effective combat unit the Alliance had ever trained. Sir, his aide, Lieutenant Kirk 15, approached nervously. I've just received word from High Command. There's been an incident in the Outer Rim. A void crawler invasion fleet has broken through the defense perimeter of the Kisari system. Vrex 9's blood ran cold. Void crawlers were the stuff of nightmares, ancient machines of destruction that consumed entire worlds. No military force had ever successfully repelled a full-scale void crawler invasion. How long before they reached the inhabited planets? 18 standard hours, sir. And our nearest battle fleet? 36 hours away. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. The Kisari system, home to 12 billion sentient beings, was doomed, unless... Commander Vrex 9 looked down at the training yard, where the humans were still celebrating, still modifying their weapons, still doing things that shouldn't be possible. Lieutenant, he said slowly, prepare the fastest ship we have, and send a message to Captain Sarah Lynn. The Yukase, Mavers, Delcam. Now why? Tell her we have a job for her team. Sir, you're not seriously considering sending the humans against void crawlers? Vrex 9's 4 eyes met his aide's too. Lieutenant, 3 hours ago I would have said the idea was insane. But 3 hours ago, I also would have said it was impossible to win a military engagement by singing and turning weapons into musical instruments. He paused, watching as Tyler Brooks somehow convinced his sonic disruptor to play harmony with Diana's shield generators. Maybe it's time we stopped thinking about what weapons are supposed to do, and started thinking about what they could do. The fate of the Kisari system now rested in the hands of beings who thought plasma rifles should sing. Graviton grenades made excellent sports equipment, and molecular disruptors were just construction tools waiting to happen. The galaxy was about to discover just how terrifying human creativity could be when applied to the art of war. The journey to the Kisari system aboard the Alliance fast cruiser Nebula's Edge was unlike anything Commander Vrex 9 had experienced in his 40-year military career. Instead of the usual pre-battle tension, the ship hummed with what could only be described as controlled excitement. The humans had transformed the weapons bay into something resembling a workshop crossed with a concert hall. Emma Torres was deep in conversation with the ship's AI, trying to convince it to help her optimize the quantum phase cannon's dimensional targeting algorithms. Meanwhile, Tyler Brooks was testing acoustic resonance patterns on the hull plating, claiming he could tune the entire ship for maximum sonic efficiency. Commander, Captain Zin 12 approached with barely concealed panic. The humans have started modifying our weapons mid-flight. Should I stop them? Vrex 9 watched as Marcus Webb carefully adjusted a molecular disruptor, while Deanna Chen held a light meter next to it, apparently measuring something that standard physics said shouldn't exist. At this point, Captain, I'm not sure we could stop them if we wanted to. Besides, he gestured toward the main display showing the Void Crawler fleet. Conventional weapons have never worked against those things anyway. The Void Crawlers were exactly as terrifying as the legends claimed. Massive, beetle-like ships that seemed to absorb light itself, moving in perfect formation toward the helpless Kisari worlds. Each vessel was the size of a small moon, bristling with energy weapons that could crack planets like eggs. "Sir," came Sarah Lynn's voice over the intercom, "we're going to need some modifications to the ship's systems. Nothing major, just, well, everything." Before Vrex 9 could respond, his console lit up with engineering requests. The humans wanted to reroute power conduits, install harmonic amplifiers in the engine room, and somehow connect the quantum phase cannon to the ship's waste recycling system. "They want to do what to our waste recycling system?" Captain Zin 12's voice climbed several octaves. "I'm afraid to ask," Vrex 9 muttered, "but he approved the modifications anyway. What choice did he have?" 3 hours later, as they approached the Kisari system, the nebula's edge had been transformed into something that would have made the original designers weep. The humans had somehow integrated every weapon system into a single, impossibly complex network that defied all known principles of military engineering. "All right, people," Sarah Lynn announced over the ship's communication system, "we've got 12 hours before those things reach Kisari Prime. Time to show the galaxy what happens when you mess with a species that weaponized music and turned cooking into an art form." The first contact with the Void Crawler fleet came exactly as expected. The ancient machines detected the approaching Alliance vessel and immediately opened fire with enough destructive force to vaporize a small asteroid field. The humans began singing again. This time it wasn't Sweet Caroline. Kevin Park had apparently composed something he called the Ballad of Really Bad Decisions, and somehow, impossibly, the ship's modified systems were amplifying it across multiple dimensions. "What are they doing?" General Thax Prime demanded from the command center. He'd insisted on accompanying the mission, claiming he needed to witness either the humans' greatest triumph or most spectacular failure. "I honestly have no idea," Vrex 9 replied, watching his instruments register impossible readings. "But it's working." The Void Crawler energy beams, which should have reduced their ship to component atoms, were instead being redirected. Emma's quantum phase cannon modifications were creating localized dimensional pockets that absorbed the incoming fire and channeled it into Tyler's sonic amplification network. In essence, the humans had turned the enemy's own weapons into backup singers. "This is absolutely insane," breathed Dr. Silla 4, who'd insisted on monitoring the quantum phase cannon personally. "They're using multi-dimensional acoustic resonance to create a defensive matrix. The enemy weapons are literally being converted into harmonics." Carlos Rodriguez, meanwhile, had discovered that his plasma cannon modifications could do more than cook food. By adjusting the molecular excitement frequency, he could heat specific elements in the Void Crawler hulls to precise temperatures. "I'm basically giving them the worst case of indigestion in galactic history," he explained cheerfully as enemy ships began developing structural weaknesses in their armor plating. The battle, if it could be called that, reached its climax when Diana Chen activated her modified energy shield generators. Instead of creating defensive barriers, her holographic art installations began projecting images directly into the Void Crawler's sensor networks. "What exactly are you showing them?" Commander Vrex 9 asked, fascinated despite himself. "Cat videos." Diana replied matter-of-factly. "Thousands and thousands of cat videos. Their targeting systems are trying to process what they're seeing, but their programming can't handle the concept of small furry creatures doing adorable things." The effect was immediate and devastating. The Void Crawler fleet, which had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, began flying in confused circles as their ancient AI minds struggled to categorize the tactical significance of a kitten playing with a ball of yarn. Their neural networks are experiencing cascading logical failures, reported the ship's AI, sounding almost as bewildered as the enemy machines. They're trying to determine whether cats represent a threat or a food source, and the uncertainty is causing system-wide crashes. But the humans weren't finished. Marcus Webb had been working on what he called battlefield renovation, using his molecular disruptor. While the void crawlers spun helplessly through space, he began systematically restructuring their hulls. "I'm not destroying them," he explained to the horrified observation crew. "No, look, I'm redecorating. They're still fully functional, but now they're optimized for completely different purposes." Within minutes, the dreaded void crawler invasion fleet had been transformed into something unprecedented, a mobile agricultural collective. The ships that had once threatened to devour entire worlds were now equipped with hydroponic gardens, solar collection arrays, and what appeared to be recreational facilities. Did they just turn our ancient enemies into farmers?" whispered General Thax Prime. "Space farmers," corrected Tyler Brooks, who'd been monitoring the modifications, with excellent entertainment systems. "I took the liberty of installing concert halls in each ship. Their AI systems seemed to really enjoy jazz." The final piece of the human strategy revealed itself when Emma Torres activated her ultimate modification to the quantum phase cannon. Instead of shifting the converted fleet out of their dimension, she began shifting helpful things in. "I'm importing agricultural specialists from dimensions where farming is the primary military discipline," she explained calmly. "Also, some really good jazz musicians. The Void Crawler's AI networks are fascinated by improvisation." The sight that greeted the arriving Kisari Defense Fleet 6 hours later was something that would be discussed in military academies for centuries to come. The infamous Void Crawler invasion force was peacefully orbiting Kisari Prime, their transformed ships already beginning to produce what appeared to be exotic vegetables, and hosting what could only be described as the galaxy's first interdimensional music festival. "This is Kisari Defense Command to Alliance vessel," came the bewildered transmission. Are those the Void Crawlers? And why are they playing what sounds like smooth jazz?" "Kisari Defense Command. This is Commander Vrex 9 of the Alliance vessel Nebula's Edge," the commander replied, struggling to maintain his composure. "The Void Crawler threat has been neutralized. They're now contributing to local agricultural development and cultural enrichment." The silence that followed lasted for nearly 30 seconds. "Could you repeat that, Commander?" "It sounded like you said the Void Crawlers are now farmers and musicians." That's essentially correct, yes." Back on the Nebula's Edge, the humans were already planning their next modifications. Jake Morrison had discovered that graviton grenades could be reconfigured to create localized gravity fields perfect for zero-G sports, while Lisa Park was experimenting with plasma rifle harmonics to create what she called therapeutic light shows. "You know," Emma Torres mused, watching the transformed Void Crawler fleet through the viewports, "I bet we could use similar techniques to address the stellar blight problem in the Andromeda sector. Those consume-everything organisms might just need a career change." Dr. Scylla IV quietly updated her research notes. Recommendation: immediately begin redesigning all Alliance weapons based on human modifications. Previous 40 years of weapons development obsolete. Note: request increased medical support for research staff. The journey back to Alliance space was celebratory, educational, and slightly concerning. The humans had somehow convinced the ship's replicators to produce something called Victory Pizza, which had become surprisingly popular among the crew. "Commander," Captain Zin 12 approached with a datapad, "I've been analyzing the humans' methods. Their approach to problem-solving is completely unlike anything we've encountered before." "How so?" "They don't see limitations, sir. Where we see a weapon designed for a specific purpose, they see a tool with infinite potential applications. Where we see insurmountable obstacles, they see interesting challenges." Vrex 9 nodded thoughtfully. "And that makes them dangerous?" "No, sir. That makes them miraculous." Upon arrival at the Galactic Defense Station, the human team was greeted by a crowd of military officials, scientists, and dignitaries from across the Alliance. Word of their impossible victory had spread throughout the galaxy faster than a quantum-class communication array. Ladies, gentlemen, and various other sentient configurations, General Thax Prime announced at the hastily organized ceremony, I present the beings who have fundamentally changed our understanding of warfare, problem-solving, and apparently agricultural management. The applause was thunderous, but the humans seemed more interested in discussing their next projects than basking in glory. We've been thinking, Sarah Lynn addressed the assembly, these weapons you've given us are incredibly versatile, but we've only scratched the surface of what they can do. A collective shiver ran through the audience. For instance, continued Marcus Webb, the molecular disruptor could be fantastic for terraforming projects, and the quantum phase cannon could revolutionize waste management across the entire galaxy. Dr. Sela Four fainted again. The real question, Emma Torres added, is whether you're ready for us to start working on the really big problems, climate restoration, species preservation, maybe something about those annoying entropy storms in the outer rim. The silence that followed was profound. These humans, who'd been mocked for their unconventional approaches just days before, were casually discussing solutions to problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. There's just one thing we need, Tyler Brooks announced, better snacks in the weapons development lab, and maybe some actual musical instruments. The sonic disruptors are great, but they're not really designed for complex harmonies. Commander Vrex 9 stepped forward, his four eyes bright with something that might have been hope. Consider it done. The Alliance hereby grants the human team unlimited access to all weapon systems, unlimited modification privileges, and he paused, unlimited snack budgets. The cheers that erupted could be heard in the next star system. As the ceremony concluded, and the various dignitaries dispersed to spread word of humanity's miraculous capabilities, Vrex 9 found himself alone with the human team in the weapons development lab. I have to ask, he said, watching Carlos Rodriguez somehow convince a plasma cannon to make perfect popcorn. How did you know it would work? The void crawlers have been unstoppable for 10,000 years. Sarah Lynn smiled, the expression both humble and confident. We didn't know it would work, Commander, but we knew it was worth trying. See, humans have this thing about impossible situations. We don't really believe in them. Every problem has a solution, added Diana Chen, adjusting her energy shield generators to create soothing ambient lighting. Sometimes the solution just requires looking at the problem from a completely different angle. Plus, Marcus Webb chimed in, everything's more fun when you're making it up as you go along. As the station's night cycle began, the human team settled into their new role as the Alliance's premier problem-solving unit. The requests were already pouring in from across the galaxy. Agricultural worlds wanted help with crop optimization, industrial planets needed assistance with manufacturing efficiency, and apparently, 3 different species wanted to know if humans could help them develop better recreational activities. Commander, Tyler Brooks called out, we're going to need bigger workshops, and maybe some actual musicians. I'm pretty sure we can solve the Centauri trade dispute with a really good symphony orchestra. Vrex 9 laughed, a sound that surprised even him. 6 months ago, the idea of humans in the Alliance military had seemed like a bureaucratic nightmare. Now, it felt like the beginning of a new age. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. And somewhere in the transformed void crawler fleet, ancient machines were discovering the joy of growing tomatoes while listening to jazz, proving once and for all that even the most fearsome enemies could be converted into neighbors with the right approach. The humans had done the impossible again. They'd turned war into friendship, destruction into creation, and terror into hope, all while maintaining perfect pitch.